Welcome to the Genesis of the Doctor podcast, where we're taking a journey through the time and space of the history of Doctor Who. I'm Joy,
And I'm Tris.
and for today's episode, we're focusing on the second and third serials of Season 5, The Abominable Snowmen and The Ice Warriors. I can't say I was a fan of either of them.
Oh, really? I might be a bit nicer on them than it sounds, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I found The Abominable Snowman was just very boring, in particular. Like,
So,
it felt so slow.
yeah, I felt both of these didn't need to be 6 episodes. I think they could have fit into 4. But what I found really funny about The Abominable Snowman is it kind of felt like we were picking up from the cliffhanger from, like, season 1. Like, the first season where Susan and Barbara find, like, the footprint out in the snow.
Yeah.
Even though that didn't actually lead to anything, that was just the start of Marco Polo.
Yeah.
This kind of started on a similar premise, or at least for the companions' sake of going out and exploring. And it was kind of funny that we went back to that idea, but we actually did something with it this time.
Yeah. And there was no music in this episode either, which just
No,
got weird.
there was a lot of weird moments. I think the biggest thing I have written down is they kept reinforcing that these were peaceful monks, but for peaceful monks, they had like a whole like little army. Like they had like
Yeah.
a lot of warriors. And like I understand the idea of like hunting for food, although most times monks are not depicted like that. So unless they
Yeah.
are specifically classified as warrior monks. So this felt very weird to me and like at odds with the premise itself. But
Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway from this was I actually want to know more about the last time the Doctor was here, and when he got that like holy bell that he took
Yeah.
with him.
Apparently there is a Big Finish audio that explains that. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
I think it's the first Doctor with Steven, and I'm not sure if it was Dodo or Vicky, but yeah,
Hmm.
I think there is a Big Finish audio.
I was gonna say it had to be first Doctor. There's no way it's with the second Doctor. So
Yeah. But yeah, this just felt like not nothing really happened for like most of the story. It's just them walking back and forth on the mountain.
yeah, there's a lot of like exploring around the mountain. There's a lot of waiting for things to happen. Which now that I say that, these two stories are actually very similar. Like
Yeah.
very similar, but I think I'll come back to that after we've talked about both of them a bit more. But I think the biggest problem I had with the Abominable Snowmen is the fact that the threat of the Great Intelligence only really came into play in like the second half of the entire serial, which further reinforces it's a bit too long.
Yeah. And like the plan that Great Intelligence has doesn't make any sense to me either. Because
No,
it's
I
like,
thought maybe I missed something, or maybe something didn't translate well into the animation, but like is this threat to just destroy a mountain? Destroy the nearby mountain for some reason?
well, they were saying something about like he wanted like a physical form, but I'm not sure how like the pyramid thing making green lines go over the mountain gives you a physical form.
He's just gonna turn into like one of the giant things from Marvel's Eternals. He's just gonna
Yeah.
like take over this thing inside the world. I don't know. It's weird, especially since I for the like entire story, I wasn't sure if he actually like had a body or was just speaking through a body. And I
Yeah.
guess we have our answer because this poor like consciousness of a corpse kept alive for like over 300 years just because of the great intelligence.
Yeah. And like they made robots and stuff, so like can't Great Intelligence just go into a robot and just there you go, problem solved. Like I don't know. It just felt so weird.
Yeah, it really was weird, especially with what ended up actually defeating him of like destroying the little like pyramid of spheres, which were just like the power sources for the snowmen, the abominable snowmen, the Yeti. It
Yeah.
didn't really make sense that destroying or knocking over that pyramid uh, would then also defeat the Great Intelligence? Because that implies he was linked to those anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. The plot's all over the place for this one.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Like, what is the significance of the holy bell that the Doctor brought back? Other than the fact that it was to welcome him back here in peace. What is the significance of it? Why did he need to take it away and then
Yeah,
bring it back? And why was it then used by the Great Intelligence as, like, something of meaning?
yeah. I will also say that the guy that plays Travers is actually Victoria's real life father. So
Oh,
they
really?
enjoyed working together in this.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, Jack Watling is his name, and Deborah Watling is Victoria. It's
Huh,
her favorite
okay.
story because she liked working with her father.
They didn't have that many scenes together,
No,
unfortunately.
not really.
But Travers was an interesting character because for the first like 2 episodes he was just really frustrated,
Yeah,
but then he actually got better and felt like your typical one-off adventurer with the Doctor trying to help. Although he was still kind of insane for most of it.
yeah. Very set on trying to find a Yeti, and then he does at the very end.
At the very end, although based on what Jamie and the Doctor and everyone say, it sounds more like nobody else saw it and it was just him, so it's a who knows what he really saw.
Yeah, I know in the original version like the Yeti was like one of the same Yetis as like the robot ones, so it's not
Oh my
really
god.
clear.
So it
It
could have
like
just been another robot.
it was like not they didn't really give you a clear vision of it, so but it could have been like another robot Yeti, or it could have been a real one. In it's not super clear in the original version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And
fair.
then like expanded universe stuff has said either it was a real Yeti or it was a robot, and like they're not they disagree with each other about if he
That they
found a
do.
real one.
That they do, and I don't think we'll ever get a true answer on that. Though what we did get an answer on, from our little Patreon chat here, is that audio story that you mentioned with the first
Yeah,
Doctor. It was with Steven and Dodo.
yeah. I kind of want to check that out now because I feel it'd be an interesting story just tied into this one.
It'd be kind of funny if it was a better story too.
Yeah. I know it also has like I forget what his name was, but the guy that gets possessed by the Great Intelligence, he is also in that, I think. So it's like how
Yes.
their friendship started.
Yeah, because they were old friends by the time the Abominable Snowmen happened. So yeah, that
Yeah.
would make sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he plays a role in it. I just don't know how heavily. I would need to look into it a little bit more. But
Yeah.
it is good to see that they did play into this idea of, okay, well, they were old friends, so let's tell a prequel story to all this.
Yeah.
And it's recent too. It was only from 2021. Fun the looks of this. So thank you, Ethan, for grabbing that.
Yeah, I mean Dodo's only been in it in Big Finish for a couple years now. So
Oh, okay, that's fair.
it would have to be recent. I did find it so funny though how the Doctor gets in trouble just because he's wearing a coat. And like that's why everyone thinks he's a murderer, is because he's wearing a fuzzy coat.
Just yeah, like obviously it wasn't a big yeti. It was a man in a big coat. Like, well, a lot of flawed logic there, but sure, I guess.
I like the exchange with the companions as well, where like Jamie thinks he sees something on the monitor, and it's like, oh wait, no, it's that great hairy beastie is just the Doctor.
I actually really enjoyed that though. Like I actually really enjoyed that little like jab at the Doctor, but fun moment between the companions.
Yeah. And then they also find bagpipes there, and Jamie's like, I didn't know you had bagpipes. Like, the Doctor said you can only join him on the TARDIS if you teach him how to play them. Of course he has them. And Jamie also didn't know what the Himalayas were as well. At
Jamie
the
didn't
beginning.
know a lot of things here. I mean, that's kind of the running thing But
Yeah.
it is quite funny how the doctor's just like, just tush, tush. Although, speaking of running things, we had the doctor once again familiar with like hypnotism and putting people in
Yeah.
trances, or working with people in trances, which we haven't had since the first Doctor.
Yeah. I did like that whole scene though, where Victoria's like very clearly brainwashed because she's just
Yes,
repeating the exact same thing over and over again.
I kind of found that great too, because I think it also said a lot about how the Great Intelligence views everyone else, because uh, just thinking that they would all fall for that,
Yeah.
and that they wouldn't see it suspicious. I actually really liked that, because I think the greater storytelling behind that was done justice in that. Also the fact that she managed to have like the same delivery each time, like she did it
Yeah.
perfectly.
And then in that scene when the doctor hypnotizes Victoria, he has to slap Jamie to wake him up because Jamie also
Yes.
falls asleep.
Just more funny banter between the Doctor and Jamie. I really like the two of them, but
Yeah.
I'm also really liking Victoria here, because I like her intuition and wanting to actually go out and do things. It's just a
Yeah.
shame that a lot of times it boils down to, we need her to scream 1, 2, 3, and then she screams like somewhere off camera, and that's what alerts everybody.
Yeah. I did like how she was like tricking people into getting out of the room and stuff like that.
Oh my god, the trick with
Like,
the poison was actually so funny.
yeah.
Like I that was so clever and really well done. Like, props to her for that one. But poor Domini for
Yeah.
like getting caught up in all that.
It's funny that like in the last story she did get something slipped into her drink, and then this one she's like, I'm gonna use that idea.
Yeah,
You
she's really
remembered.
good at faking all that,
Yeah.
learning from her experiences,
And then everybody kept calling her a devil woman because she kept getting out of lockup.
including like the one monk that was so certain she was behind everything, and like stood against the Buddha statue as he watched it getting destroyed, and in the big open courtyard didn't move out of the way.
Yeah.
He died blaming her, and obviously everyone else felt bad, but it was also kind of a case of, sir, you had a lot of options there.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Yeti themselves, the robots,
I just found it
and the
so
way they kind of
funny.
just shuffled along?
I found it so funny how they didn't have faces, which is just
Yeah,
weird. I mean, in the original version, it's more like it just kind of looks like there's a shadow over the face area,
right.
whereas in this one, it's just a darker fur on the face
Mm-hmm.
in the animation, which is it's just so funny because like I guess that kind of really tells you that they are robots because they're obviously not having to see anything.
Yep. Or no. As the monks say, it's just armor, as any man would wear. Which they should still find strange, but they don't. They just brush it off. Which,
Yeah.
okay. There was a lot of ups and downs in the Abominable
Yeah.
Snowmen. I thought it was a fun story overall. Like, I enjoyed watching it, but I wouldn't say it was like a highlight personally.
Yeah. I just found it rather boring because it was just, especially with like no music, I was struggling to keep it like keep it in my focus
That's fair.
as I was watching it.
Oh, we have a good question from our Patreon supporter Ethan in chat, saying, "How do we feel about the monk redesigns? It's arguably the biggest change to the story with the animation, but considering the casting and trying to be more accurate to Tibetan culture, yeah." Um,
Yeah.
I actually like the redesigns. I like that they tried to make it more accurate and more faithful to the times and the story that they're trying to tell. I think it added more to it. Even though I know others would argue that it's not faithful to the original story and you're not getting the full experience of the story that way, but
Yeah. I would say it's definitely better to redesign them since like, it was just all white actors in the roles and
yeah.
for a modern day story, it's better to change that. I would say.
It, it is.
You
It
don't
is.
need to.
Especially when
Yeah, you
the
don't need to
animation.
recreate like the issues that 1960s
Yeah.
television had.
Yeah, whether it's issues or limitations, you don't need to necessarily recreate those. By adapting the media into something else, it allows you to tell the story, I guess, more accurately to what you wanted it to be,
Yeah,
as opposed to making a one-to-one recreation with what it actually was.
yeah.
But
Also,
that's my take.
apparently one of the actors in this is the romantic partner of Victor Pemberton. So, and like they're a gay couple, which I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
So I guess Victor
Good for
Pemberton
them.
might be like the first gay script editor on Doctor Who. I'm not too sure about that, but he's one of the first ones at least. Although he was only
Good for
script editor
him.
for one story.
Well, either way, one story is still something.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I don't have anything else like written down in my notes that's like I think worth like super worth talking about other than I think the pacing of this story probably would have been better if it was reduced to 4 episodes. But I do. Oh, you know what? There is something to talk about here. The Great Intelligence. This is
yeah,
kind of chronologically in terms of like the show's release. This is the first time we've seen the Great Intelligence, even though in the chronological storytelling for the Doctor for the Great Intelligence in a time travel story, it's not.
yeah,
But it was neat getting a villain that the Doctor had no idea about, but evidently knew him and already had a grudge against him. That without having like a real proper form, made for a really interesting villain for the Doctor to attempt to take down.
yeah. It was a bit fascinating from that perspective.
First
And
televised appearance, Ethan says. Yeah.
yeah,
First televised appearance of the Great Intelligence, because the Great Intelligence's timeline is all over the place. I think technically, correct me if I'm wrong, I think technically the introduction in terms of like when the Great Intelligence was first made, like from the Intelligence's perspective, this is getting complicated, was the 11th Doctor story, The Snowmen. So I guess
yeah,
the Intelligence just really, really likes snow.
yeah. The Snowman is supposed to be his first story, and then whether this one is after the Snowman but before the Bells of St. John or after like the name of the Doctor is a bit unclear. Like this
Mm-hmm.
could either be between the two or it could be after all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super clear.
That's true. I think it's supposed to be after Name of the Doctor, since the whole point then was after the Snowman he kind of took on a specific form.
Yeah.
Not obviously they wouldn't have that form in the 60s, but I imagine if they were bringing him back and wanted to tell a story around the same time, they would have given him a form that looked somewhat similar to something from back then, but they didn't. So,
Yeah. And we will be seeing the Great Intelligence in in our next episode of our show. The Web of Fear is another Great Intelligence story. So
oh,
we will
okay,
be
he's
seeing
just
him
recurring.
very
Nice.
soon.
Nice. Okay. I was curious how long it would take for him to come back again. I see Ethan also mentions there's a fifth Doctor story with him as well. So okay, so yeah, so we
Yeah.
definitely get the Great Intelligence coming back and forth quite a bit. Okay, okay.
Yeah, and then there's sort of not canon 1990s movies with him in it as well.
Sort of not canon. Like you have all the characters reprising the characters, but the Doctor's not there. So if
Yeah.
it's canon, they're like, I don't know. Maybe RTD will come in one day and make it canon.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and then,
those movies are where what's her name? Kate Stewart is from those movies, so
that's
they are
right.
sort of canon.
That's right. That's
And
true. Yeah, I
the
mean,
Web of
Stephen
Fear
Moffat
is
did it.
the Web of Fear is also our introduction to the Brigadier, by the way.
Oh, here we go. We're gonna get the Brigadier next episode. Excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
and Ethan's
Excellent.
saying they're canon in Big Finish as well. So
Well,
they're not
before we
official,
move
but
on to
they're referenced and stuff.
yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, even with Kate Stewart, we kind of have that too.
Yeah.
Um, Before we move into the next episode, though, since we keep mentioning Ethan in chat, as a reminder that you can support our little show here on Patreon, and if you support us at just $1 a month, you get into our Discord and early access to these episodes. But for $5 a month at our companion tier, you get to watch us live as we record, and we have our little text chat, and you can interact with us. So that's how we've been getting some extra info from Patreon supporter Ethan. Maybe Ethan wants to come in and tell us later on the Abominable Snowmen was the best second author story. I don't know. He hasn't said that, but he has the free will to do so. We could talk about it.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely didn't have a lot of notes on this story because I struggled to pay attention to it.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say the last thing I'll say on it for me at least is the little cliffhanger at the end that we see. Oh, like maybe these abominable snowmen robots are actually still alive. Like it kind of moves slightly. They've done that kind of cliffhanger. I feel like almost every story so far. Like
yeah, they do keep doing that.
They keep doing that with second author stories, and I'm getting a little tired of that. Ooh, could it come back? Like, I don't think we need to keep doing it as often as we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Yeti do come back in the Web of Fear, so like, I guess it was just hinting at that in 2 episodes we're going to be doing it again, or I guess in three stories from now we're going to do it again.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, they did it with
Fair enough.
the Daleks multiple times too, which is just kind of funny.
They did it with the Cybermen and Tomb of the Cybermen with the little Cybermat being outside of the tomb.
Yeah,
Like they keep doing it.
they just want to let you know that these monsters they'll come back if you like them.
They'll come back if you like them because they already have all the props for them. They don't want to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can move on to the Ice Warriors, which
All right.
I liked better, but I still wouldn't say I really loved it.
There was a lot of annoying characters in this one.
Yeah, and I didn't,
which is common to both stories, but
I didn't like the voices. Like the computer voice, I could not understand anything it was saying, and then the Ice Warrior voices
really hard to tell.
The Ice Warrior voices I didn't really like very much either.
I think the Ice Warriors spoke a little too slowly for how they were whispering already. It was a little hard to tell when they were continuing the same sentence at times.
Yeah.
But
I found it so funny though that they had like Lego minifigure hands.
yeah, they really do just have like big Lego hands, which is really silly. But also, when you think about how they've redesigned the Ice Warriors since, including in modern times, they have like basically just like 3 fingers. But they do kind of still have that look. But it was really funny seeing like the Lego hands in action, and including like when they grab Victoria.
Oh, apparently Lego minifigures weren't around yet. That's funny. They're from 71, says Ethan.
Oh wow.
So I guess
that's actually really funny.
It's just a coincidence that they look like Lego figures.
Something learned with hindsight.
Yeah, like it was really weird just how you could not hear what the computer was saying at all. It was so like processed that it was very difficult to hear it.
Especially with how important it was.
Yeah.
Like, if it was just like a random computer that had like a few lines, like a not too much importance, like that would have been fine. But like the biggest point of this story, other than the introduction of the Ice Warriors, is basically that these people, this civilization, like basically live to serve computers. Not exactly, but practically. All their faith is put in the computer, and they don't have like any free thought of their own, or they don't believe they can survive with their own free thoughts. They have to check with the computer. They have to listen to it. They have to keep going back to it and keep getting input from it and their orders from it. And to then not really be able to tell what it's saying, that doesn't really help much. Especially when we've had Cybermen, we've had Daleks. Like, they've been able to do this right before. I guess the goal was to make it not sound too close to those, but...
Yeah. And Ethan corrected that minifigures are from 78. I will just mention that.
Okay, so quite a ways later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like this story would have been better if it was on Tubi and I could just have like subtitles, but unfortunately it wasn't there, so we didn't have subtitles when we were watching it. And then you'd be able
Yep.
to understand what the computer was saying.
Yeah. I think my other biggest problem with it is I didn't quite get what was going on with the human plot too much. Like it felt like it was going in directions that it never really ended up going. Because
Yeah.
ultimately the human plot was we had to stop the Ice Warriors. Even though there was this whole thing about basically, not everyone wants to serve a computer. We want our own free thoughts. We are capable, and going against, tearing down the establishment or tearing down, the AI overlords. I don't know, but it's just kind of frustrating that it didn't really go anywhere until the very last scene where it was like, see, we lived. We took down the Ice Warriors, even though the computer kept telling us to wait. We can rise above them. And then, like, the biggest advocate for them was like, I'll let you in on a secret. I've been writing my scripts and reports without it all this time anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, it felt like, come on, you mean to tell me that you had that doubt then and you had your own free thought, free will the whole time anyway, despite being the biggest advocate for it? So what was the conflict between you then?
Yeah, it's just I guess the guy had a big ego, so he just didn't like the one scientist. And
I guess.
that's all it was.
I guess. It's just. But the problem is that it was trying to tell a story that was supposed to be bigger than the two of them, of like, this is just how society is. And it never really came across that well. It really did just come across as this feud between the leader and this one scientist.
Yeah. And then yeah,
And
there's
I did.
there's a whole
Yeah.
climate change aspect to it, and it's like an ionizer that they want to use to heat the planet because it's an ice age.
The second Ice Age, yep.
I
Although
do.
I agree with Ethan, the Ionizer ultimately felt like a B plot. Like it felt like
Yeah.
a side plot, rather, despite being the first plot introduced and presented as the most important part. Everything about it ended up feeling second, which I don't think
Yeah.
is the right choice. Even though, yes, that means it's because they wanted to put such a focus on the Ice Warriors, but yeah,
Yeah. I did find it a little funny how it's this is basically a story about human-made climate change
yeah.
in the 1960s. It's a bit fascinating. You wouldn't
It seems
expect
we've been
that.
trying to tell some stories for quite some time. If only the right people would listen.
Yeah. And then
If
yeah,
only.
this scientist's hunter friend just betrays everybody and gets murdered.
Betrays everybody, has multiple people telling him you can't trust the Ice Warriors, and he's like, no, I do trust them because they hate the same people I hate. And then is shocked when they don't want to listen to him and end up killing him. Like,
Yeah.
I guess the running theme is actually stubbornness. The Ice Warriors are stubborn, are stubborn. The main leader is stubborn. Like his second in command, the woman that like was able to work a lot of the tech was also stubborn. Like everyone's stubborn, and I feel the doctor just keeps throwing up his hands. Like, well, what can I do?
Yeah. I did like how Jamie, with that hunter dude, he was like trying to get out of there, and then here's that guy's a loyalist, and it's like, oh, you're a loyalist. I understand. But it's like,
That meant
he
nothing. To
doesn't
him.
mean the same thing as what you think it means, Jamie.
It was really funny how like into the conversation Jamie got as soon as he heard that, even though that means nothing to him.
Yeah.
Did they even explain in the story, in the context of this story, what the loyalist meant? If they
No,
did, I missed it.
I don't think they really did. Like, obviously, in Jamie's time, loyalist means like there's like a complicated thing, like with I think like Scottish loyalists or something, and that's
Yeah,
what he thinks he's hearing. But
yeah,
I guess
but
in this story, it's just like you don't like scientists. I guess is what a loyalist is. I don't know.
oh man,
That's all
I
he.
guess.
That's his thing. Is that guy doesn't like scientists.
British history joke. Yeah, British history joke, basically, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely was just a little weird that it felt kind of aimless. Like this hunter guy, yeah, like he's a local, but like his whole thing is not liking the scientists. But I thought maybe that would give us a bigger glimpse into like what life was like other than what the scientists are trying to do. And we didn't really get it. So what we got was the scientists are ultimately still doing the right thing to try to stop the ice age.
Yeah.
You
I, I,
know, we
it was funny too at the beginning where the TARDIS lands on its side, and then by the end of the story, they don't worry about that when they get back in there.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to mention too. The ending felt very rushed. The ending was
Yeah.
very similar to the Abominable Snowmen of basically the Doctor kind of just wants to head off and head back as fast as possible. Um, in this case, though, yeah, like as soon as we hit the climax, the Doctor tells Vicky off screen, yeah, go back to the TARDIS and shut the doors. I thought it was take Jamie with you because she had just told him where Jamie was. No, it turns out Jamie is no longer paralyzed. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
And in the heat of the moment, the climax of it all with the Doctor, and yeah, there was no problem when they went back to the TARDIS despite landing on its side. I thought maybe we would have had a little throwaway line of, oh yeah, because Jamie and Victoria went back earlier, they put the TARDIS back right or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Nope, nothing, and no explanation either for why Jamie was no longer paralyzed.
Yeah. I know Victoria wasn't in the last episode because she couldn't get to filming, so they just had the
Okay.
doctor say off screen to go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. Okay.
She was supposed to be in it, and then she just couldn't make it that week, so
Ah.
they changed it.
Fair enough, I suppose. But like this is now the second time we've had a companion temporarily get their legs paralyzed. The first was Ian, and in
Yeah.
Ian's case, it was very well explained that it was just like a temporary thing from the Dalek blast, and that he'll be able to walk again soon. And you had follow up scenes of him regaining his ability to walk.
Yeah.
But in this, you have a similar thing of Jamie is paralyzed from her legs down because of what happened with the Ice Warriors. The doctor tells him, "Oh, like something hit like the nerve center in your brain or some sort of effect because of it. Don't worry, you will be able to walk again though." And the whole point then is, okay, we got to get Jamie back to the main base so he can get medical help. Well, he doesn't get medical help. He just gets laid out to sleep because he was knocked out, and then suddenly
Yeah.
he can walk again in his next scene. So that didn't get explained at all. And I agree with Ethan in our chat of the most Doctor Who line ever. I'll explain later. Never explained.
Yeah. It is also funny how, too, though, like, Jamie's right next to somebody else when they both get shot. Jamie survives, though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Even though they get shot by the same blast.
They get shot by the same blast. Jamie survives. The other guy doesn't. I'm sure nowadays they would try to explain it with some sort of energy from the TARDIS, but
Yeah.
bad aim.
He just has plot armor because he's the hero. Don't worry about it.
It's that really strong kilt.
Yep. Maybe it doesn't work on Scottish people.
No wonder why he keeps wearing it.
Yep.
Oh man. No, but I think Jamie's role in the story was really interesting because it's not often we have something happen to him and then Victoria's the more capable companion of the two because something
Yeah.
happened to him. But all they really did with it here was Victoria was with the doctor when trying to stop the Ice Warriors and Jamie was incapacitated. It didn't quite end up being the role reversal that it might have set up to be.
Yeah. There were some funny moments in this, though. Like, I liked when Victoria's being asked about engines, and, like, she obviously wouldn't know anything about engines, and the doctor's just, like,
Yep.
shaking his head next to the leader dude.
I
He's like,
I did
she
like
wouldn't
that. The
know.
doctor's like it. I wish he said something, but it's just like no, like we're getting nowhere. All right, describe what it looked like to me. Describe it to me as best you can, because he knew that's like the only thing he could really get out of that.
Yeah. The exchange Victoria and Jamie had about the women's clothes was also funny.
Oh, that was also really funny, actually.
He's like, "Oh, would you wear something like that?" He's like, "That's so disgusting." And then he's
I mean,
like,
she's from a time that she doesn't like the shorter dresses that she's been wearing
"Yeah,"
since.
and she was like it's so weird. And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, sure. Definitely don't like those clothes, but would you wear some?"
It's so funny.
Yeah,
You know, the outfits of the scientists. One of the first things I wrote down when we first saw them. It reminds me of like early Star Trek, like really early
yeah,
Star Trek. Like just something about it just screams sci-fi, which is a lot more than we've had actually. Because when you look at a lot of like clothing that we've had in Doctor, like the different costumes for different like scientists or like space explorers, they've been very basic. Like
yeah,
outright just t-shirts sometimes. So the fact that this is rather overly designed costumes was kind of nice.
yeah. It could be that like since they're doing six parters, maybe they have a bit more budget to spend on stuff because like they're reusing the same sets for longer, so
Right.
you can maybe spend a bit more on costumes.
Mm,
And yeah, this was
possibly.
when early Star Trek was around, so maybe they were inspired by it. Who
That's
knows?
possible. That's possible because that very first scene of the first episode really does feel like something out of Star Trek to me.
Yeah,
And then now, 60 years later, Doctor Who and Star Trek are on good terms. Will they ever properly cross over? Who knows?
yeah, we'll see. I guess it depends who owns Star Trek. I don't know who owns that.
Mm.
I don't think that's Disney, so it would depend on how that goes with Doctor Who.
Oh,
Paramount
Paramount
apparently
owns it.
is
Okay,
Star Trek.
okay, okay.
And there was also a scene where like the Doctor uses the machine that can like make anything just to get water. I love that too.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. I liked in the one lost episode that was also had like the loose cannon reconstruction. They just labeled that thing as a vending machine. So
Yeah,
it's like, oh, the scientist approaches vending machines. Like that doesn't look like a vending machine, but sure.
yeah. And then there was a scene where the Doctor is miming for Victoria to cry. That was
That was
great.
such a great scene of like her make a lot of noise so they can whisper in between it.
Yeah, there were some fun scenes in this, for sure.
Yeah. While I think the plot of most of the characters was a bit off, I do think the highlight like to this story was the relationship and the interaction between the Doctor and his companions because I think those were
Yeah,
very strong here in both episodes actually.
yeah,
Um and those were probably the highlights I'd say because we're really getting like a lot of good uh a lot of good moments from all three of them, including together. But I do think like the specific like story of each of these was on the weaker side. I'm not sure which one I liked better between Abominable Snowmen and Ice Warriors. I didn't dislike either, um,
yeah,
but I think I liked the Abominable Snowmen a little bit more, if not only because I think there was more interesting things going on with the Great Intelligence versus the Ice Warriors were just more stubborn people in a room full of stubborn people.
yeah. I did also find it funny too how like the Ice Warrior story is basically just they just reused the same idea that it was just frozen in ice for like the 11th Doctor episode with Ice Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Just they
That's
just
true.
found one hidden in ice several centuries later. I guess that's just what they
It's
do with Ice Warriors.
it's a running thing. I guess. Yeah, I feel like it's pretty. It feels common now that anytime ice warriors come up, they're gonna be, oh, they were found in ice from the ice age. Because even I'm pretty sure that happened with the 12th Doctor as well. When the Doctor and Bill encountered the ice warriors, the Victorian soldiers that had found the ice warrior found him in
Yeah,
ice. So
yeah. And then they went to Mars in the 12th Doctor episode because that's where they're from.
mhm. I do agree with Ethan of the flow of the Ice Warriors is better than the Abominable Snowmen because Abominable Snowmen has jail time times 4.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. You could tell the set limitations of Abominable Snowmen a bit more because of what
Yeah.
places got reused constantly. Versus, I do think Ice Warriors was a bit better with that. So there's definitely like good reasons to like one over the other better. I just personally think I liked the Great Intelligence as a villain better than the Ice Warriors here. But overall, I do understand the idea of the Ice Warriors as a story flowing a bit better.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of either of them. I guess I would
Mm-hmm.
say I liked Ice Warriors a bit better, but
Okay.
neither of them were ones I particularly liked.
Yeah, I mean it's a little hard too coming after Tomb of the Cybermen because that was just such a good one.
Yeah. I one to follow up on. And then I'm kind of excited for what we're watching next. So it's like just having to get between them because Enemy of the World is also what we're going to be watching next time, and that one Patrick Troughton plays the villain. So I've been looking forward to that one.
Oh, okay.
That's the one where it's like a person that looks exactly like the Doctor is the villain.
Oh, okay.
I've been wanting
okay.
to
We're
watch
going back
that
to that
one.
again. Okay, okay. This should be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of notes on Ice Warriors either.
Oh, that's fine. I think we managed to stay a lot even still.
Yeah. I did write the two young people for whom I have great affection was just a funny line from the Doctor there.
That
He
was a
said,
good line, and something about it. I don't think it was improv, but there's something about that line that feels like it would come from improv as opposed to
yeah.
what would actually be written. Rip Susan for that line. Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, I guess that's really all I had for the Ice Warriors as well.
All right.
I will say I also listened to there's a new First Doctor Adventures Big Finish story, which is it just released like this last week, and it's
Oh, okay.
like an older Steven meets back up with the First Doctor and Dodo. You know, it's a very good story. I quite enjoyed it.
Nice.
There was a funny detail though from it, which is they give a name for the planet that Steven stayed behind on. They specifically say that they renamed the planet to this afterwards, and it's Cardicium is the planet name now.
Oh, okay.
Very funny name to give a planet. And the Doctor's like, "Oh, you named it after my TARDIS. It's so nice of you."
That's hilarious, actually.
And they did also use it to give Dodo like a proper goodbye because it's not actually Dodo while she's traveling with the Doctor in this because they're all like time scooped out of different times. So the Dodo in this is from in the middle of the War Machines when she's with like the guy in the mansion that she's just staying with after she woke up from the brainwashing.
Oh, okay. So it's like after she last saw the Doctor on TV, at least.
Yes,
Or
they
televised.
explain
Yeah, okay.
why she actually decided to leave, which is, but it's funny because they do it in like literally in a 5-minute sequence. She goes from like I never want to leave the Doctor to goodbye Doctor.
Okay.
So
I
they
mean, I
still
guess
rush through it, but they give her one.
Never
at
want
least.
to leave, but I mean, sometimes you still have to.
They have her explain that she really cares about endangered species, so she's gonna stay behind to try to protect endangered species on the planet. And I get like there's a funny line from Steven where he's like, "Oh yeah, you always did care about nature," and like, did she?
Did she?
I don't think
Well,
that was ever established in anything.
I guess in
Yeah, I guess
like
in the arc,
her,
kind
her
of.
first adventure, yeah, like her first adventure, because she knew about like all those animals, so I guess
Yeah.
that's what they built off of.
I mean, they kind of had it because, like, she says, like, I want to go meet dodo birds, and then she's like, oh, it sucks that dodo birds went extinct and tigers like almost extinct, and then she goes on, it's like, oh yeah, I should stay behind and take care of animals. So it's like, it's all a joke based on her name, I guess, is what it came from.
I guess so. Sounds like it.
But yeah, that was a good story. And
That does sound like a good one, though. That does sound like a
It
good one.
also deals
It's nice
with.
that they actually did that.
I know in other Big Finish audios, Steven has talked about his kids, and Steven named one of his daughters after Dodo. So,
Oh.
and then, unfortunately, that daughter passed away at some point. So it's all about him like grieving over her.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's basically the plot of it. And then when he hears somebody named Dodo is nearby, he mistakenly thinks it's his daughter, who was
Aw.
time scooped. And it's like, oh, it's the wrong Dodo. But it's great to see you.
That's unfortunate. Poor Steven.
I did also like in the interviews that came with it, Peter Purvis said that the new First Doctor actor really captures William Hartnell as well as somebody can.
Oh, that's nice.
And he says that
That's
he was
great,
doing
actually.
like hand movements and stuff while they were recording because they were all recording in like one studio. And it's like he really captures like William Hartnell's like movements and stuff as well.
Is it is it David Bradley or is it
No,
someone
it's
else for the audio stories?
Stephen Noonan, I think his name is, and he's just
okay.
new because they stopped having David Bradley do it because they just wanted somebody that sounded closer to William Hartnell. Because David Bradley looks like the First Doctor, but doesn't really
Doesn't
sound like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stephen Noonan is the new First Doctor, Big Finish guy, and he has been for a couple years now, I think.
Okay. Fair enough. Interesting.
Then there is the bit Fugitive Doctor thing coming out at some point in January. We don't know yet when that yet though.
Well, for all we know, by the time this episode officially releases, it might already be out.
Yeah, because that happened with Once in Future Coda. We were talking about it, and then it came out before the episode actually aired.
That's going to be a running thing, I think, whenever we talk about Big Finish.
Yeah, Satchel One's Master is next month as well. So I bought all of that all together.
Nice.
So I haven't
Nice.
pre-ordered.
I think they also confirm that the 13 and Yaz series is coming this summer.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know if we knew that before, but I think
Yeah.
it was confirmed.
with that series, they're doing like one story every month. I think from like June this year to like a year or two after that.
Oh,
So they're just
okay. That's
they're
quite
doing
a
like
lot.
monthly releases for like I think like 10 to 20 episodes or something.
Wow. That's
Yeah, that's just going to be an ongoing thing.
Eden says, keep predicting more releases. Yeah, that's how we get them to happen.
I will predict that Carvanista will be in a 13th Doctor or audio story because I think that'd be funny.
I think it would make sense, too.
I guess they would technically
Probably one
have
of the
to.
last ones, but
They would have to get John Bishop in there as well because he was the companion when Carvanista was there.
well, no, but remember, Flux starts with them chasing Carvanista.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So it could be before that.
Yeah, where he's like the villain of a story, so to say. Not really villain, but you know, he's against the Doctor in the story. Anyway,
But yeah, I guess that's really all we have to say about any of the stuff for today. Yeah, for next episode, as we said, we were watching The Enemy of the World, which is 6 episodes. It is surviving, so you'll find that on Tubi TV or anywhere else. And then after that, there is also The Web of Fear, which is another 6 episodes, which isn't on Tubi because I think episode 3 is missing and has an animation. And then the other 5 are surviving. So that's one of the ones that's not on Tubi TV, but it is on BBC iPlayer, if you have access to that. So yeah, Enemy of the World is, Patrick Troughton plays the villain in that, so it's fascinating just seeing him get a good play off himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Web of Fear is the return of the Great Intelligence, and it's also the introduction of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, although I think he's not a Brigadier yet. I know he's not in Unit yet, because Unit comes into play in his second story, but we will be meeting him.
well, that'll still be fun. Finally getting to meet his character for the first time.
Yeah, and he's a very important character that we will see a lot of in the coming seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Because once the Third Doctor gets left behind on Earth, he's with the Brigadier for most of that.
He is basically a companion, except for the fact that I don't think he's really traveled in the TARDIS that much, if at all.
Yeah, because, they don't travel in the TARDIS for those seasons.
Yeah. Yep. Twice. Okay. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think he's in the Three Doctors. I think he was in that, so they have
Mm-hmm.
access to the TARDIS in that. I know, but yeah, I guess just as a reminder, we do have a Patreon. So, as we said earlier, for $1 a month, you get into our Discord and get early access to episodes. And for $5 a month, you can watch live as we record, like Ethan is currently doing. And yeah, so for next episode, just make sure you watch The Enemy of the World and The Web of Fear. You can find, at least The Enemy of the World, you can find BBC iPlayer or Tubi TV. Web of Fear is on BBC iPlayer, but not Tubi TV. You'll have to find it elsewhere. And if you support us on Patreon for $1 a month, you gain access to our Discord, as well as early access episodes. I have been Joy. You can find me on social media at Joy Content.
And I've been Tris. You can find me on social media at ToonTris.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.